tips and tricks for applying to scholarships. Number one, a great way to think of it is if you treat scholarships like a job. If you set aside time to work at filling out scholarships, it's a great return on investment of your time if you do get a scholarship. So if you think about, you spend 2 hours on a scholarship and you get $1,000, you just made $500 an hour. So that's a really good way to look at things, is that if you could treat it like a scholarship or like work, that would be a good way to attack them. And then set up application goals and timelines for yourself with early deadlines if possible. Don't wait, and start applying as soon as you can. Apply often and to as many scholarships as you can. I have a great example of a student that graduated from Oregon State a couple years ago, and I had a great visit with him. He was an average student, did average in high school, you know, was not a bad student, was not an amazing 4-point, you know, off the charts, super high SAT score type of student. And he just made it a goal to apply to as many scholarships as he could and as often as he could. And he always went above and beyond asking about scholarships, and he ended up paying for all of his scholarships all of his college with scholarships. And he told me that the majority of his scholarships were in the $500 to $2,000 range, but he literally paid for college. And then also, again, remember that every year is the start of a new cycle. You can reapply, and some scholarships are renewable, and sometimes they, you know, just take a little bit more to reapply, or sometimes you just fill out the entire application again. But you need to make sure that you pay attention to that if they're a renewable scholarship and what the requirements are for that. Again, English teachers and your professors are great essay editors. They're usually happy to help. Ask in advance and give them plenty of time to help you out. Don't do it the day before your deadline. Be aware of the varying application requirements and deadlines, because not all scholarship applications are just an essay and a transcript. Sometimes you need to turn in a picture or an art piece or a video. There's all kinds of different scholarships out there, some really unique ones, and they have unique application processes to go with them.
A big one too often is a recommendation letter.
Yes.
And so if that's a requirement, make sure you're also giving the person enough time to write you a good recommendation letter, not something.
Yeah,
rushed.
and on that line, it's kind of like what Jose was talking about before. If it's personable and is written specifically for you, like Jose said, if you pull your name out and it's so generic that you can't tell, you know, it's really nice to make sure you choose people to write your letters of recommendation that will go above and beyond and make it specific to you with some of your specific accomplishments, some of your specific characteristic traits, and how those have played into your success. So that's really important when choosing someone to write you a letter of recommendation. Then another great one that I've used with a lot of students, and they've come back and told me that it was super helpful, was if you set up a separate email for all of your college and scholarship correspondence so you don't lose things, or you can find responses or find out if they want more from you, or if you're in the running for an interview and you would hate to miss that email. And I know if you're like me, you have an email set up that's generic and you get 1 million emails a day. Sometimes it's easy to lose those emails. So I encourage students to set up a separate email just to use for college applications and scholarships and anything that has to do with college or your post-secondary journey. And just as an example, I put in here, jengoestocollege@gmail.com. And then that is what I would use for all of my correspondence. And it can be very, very helpful.
And I want to add to that because I just thought of this, and we don't have it written on the PowerPoint, but aside from being responsive to emails, phone calls as well, some committees will try to reach out to you to set up a interview. And if you don't respond, they're going to have to skip you. So if you don't respond to an email trying to set up an interview time or even phone calls, make sure your voicemail is set up and not full. Your inbox should not be full, because then they can't leave you a voicemail if you don't pick up. So make sure you do that. Check your emails and make sure your voicemails are not full and set up. And just in addition to that, make sure that if you do have an interview, that you make the time to get there in person, or if it's online, make sure you're able to connect beforehand, check your connection, make sure everything's good to go. I have a really disappointing example this year. There was a committee person who knows me personally who reached out and said, hey, I just wanted to let you know, one of your students was one of our top candidates. They were a runner, like they were the one to beat coming into that interview, but they showed up very late. They were not prepared, and they did not do very well answering the questions because they seemed distracted. And that was just super disappointing because according to this person, before the interview, she was pretty sure this student was going to get the scholarship. But because of that interview, it ruined it. And the scholarship went to another student. So keep that in mind. Those are very important. Be very organized around your emails, your messaging, your communication, your phone calls, and your interviews.
Yes. And one more thing on that line. Sorry. All these things that are coming to mind. Make sure that your email address is appropriate. No words that aren't appropriate or professional in your email address. And then also it's best if you set up your voicemail with a greeting so they know who they make sure they have the right phone number to leave the message. So, say this is Jennifer and, please leave a message, or this is Jennifer Openlander, please leave a message, so that they know whose email or whose voicemail it is. And also, again, make sure that your emails are always using appropriate words. And then, the other one that's really huge that can help students is to keep a separate Word document. So each time you answer an essay question, make sure you type it out like in a Word document first, because it will show you spelling and grammar errors. And then you copy and paste it into your answers if it's an online application. And then also you can save them on there so that you can keep using those same answers, because a lot of applications ask the same types of questions or the exact same questions. So you can tweak an answer or, use the same answers for multiple scholarships. And we just added this at the end to show what some example scholarship questions might look like. So anyway, some of these are off of the OSAC website, I believe. What are your specific education plans and career goals and why? What inspires you to achieve them? So think about these questions, think about them for a while before you answer, write down some notes, and then put your answer together. What have you done for your family or community that you care about the most and why? Describe a personal accomplishment and the strengths and skills you use to achieve it. Describe a significant change or experience that has occurred in your life. How did you respond and what did you learn about yourself? And then all of these were to be answered in 1,000 characters approximately, which is around 150 words. So very short answers. So you need to really think through your answers before you write them, out completely on your final scholarship. And then again, have somebody double check those answers and help you, fine tune it so that you can get the most bang out of your 1,000 characters. So you can sometimes having someone else read it can help you take out words that you don't need so that you can add a little more good content to the answer.
Yes, one of the things I usually tell students when they struggle with this, because it may sound like 150 words, oh, that's easy, I can write that really fast. It's not so much about quantity as it is about quality. So that's why for a lot of students, it's actually harder to write a really short essay because you're trying to say a lot in a few words. So usually what I tell my students is write everything you want to say to answer that question, and then let's condense it down to the key essential pieces that are there, the most important, the most impactful words, and use every word, make sure every word counts, because 150 words, to be honest, is not very much. It's a very, very short statement. So just keep that in mind. It's not about the quantity, it's about the quality of your essay, and make sure not to go over that limit.